we've shot these
that's in
two
the lighting
characters
as well.
Yeah, it almost has a
this is studio portraiture lighting rather than
there's we looked at
lighting.
Vermeer actually and Dutch paintings for the sense of light.
It's got a Vermeer quality.
So it was. I think it is quite subtle. I agree that those conditions aren't really amplified. The play does that. So we were careful to sort of strike a balance, really.
Yeah. What about the type then? What is that sans serif you're using there for Love?
Oh, you're going to have to excuse me. You know what? I actually can't remember.
I was going to say you have to excuse me because I can't identify it. But okay,
I think it may even be a hairline Gotham, but I'm not sure.
But it's not Helvetica.
It's not Helvetica.
Okay.
We did try.
So is that for you a fairly early an example of an early departure from the?
This was actually middle of last year, so it wasn't. It's not. No, we've been doing it since I arrived.
Okay.
Maybe. Maybe.
All right. If you recall, what dictated the choice of
type on that?
Just the general type style. It doesn't matter what the face is, but.
I think a neutrality that didn't, because it's such a loaded word, we didn't have to do much with it. We didn't have to illustrate what it meant. So it had to be something that was just almost like a carrier of information rather than anything that was evocative. Particularly because we felt that the image was doing so much.
Did you try different type treatments on it?
We did, and we had something that was actually much more classical and period with serifs, but that was felt it was too much of a contrast to the image and wasn't contemporary. So we had to go again and find a different solution, which I think is now looking at it is the right answer.
Why weren't you sure at the time then? Or?
Well, I was convinced actually that something a little more classical played up the Vermeer reference, but it was sort of too soft. So I think we've landed it now.
Who
landed
will have
it in
the
right
final say in a question like that? I mean, all right, you're looking at different type treatments. You're showing them to other people, are you, or are you usually keeping that discussion in the studio and only?
Alexander Zeldin, the director here, was brilliant because he clearly said to us at our first meeting, I know what your territory is and I know what mine is, and we should converse, but you're the specialist in your field. There was a conversation started with the designer as well. So there was a kind of three-way conversation: designer, director, us, and our marketing team as well. So
all considering the typeface question.
Usually.
What really worked?
I mean, in that instance, it doesn't always happen like that. But we will get to a point where we show our preference and what we think is working, and sometimes everybody agrees, sometimes they don't. But there's usually a conversation with our marketing team, and more often than not, the director as well.
Is there any more to say about that one? Because
I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
Okay. All right. Let's Ma Rainey. Let's say a bit about. So Ma Rainey. Where is that in the sequence in terms of the more?
That was early last year.
Flourish in the lettering.
There is, So this had to be historically accurate as best as we could be in the time that we had. Extremely thoroughly researched this piece of work by the designer Ultz, who helped give us some reference. He went over to America to research for the design of the show, and the show is I mean, it's a contemporary presentation, but it's very much about period detail in every way. So it was kind of quite meticulous, the level of detail we went to get that period right, which meant black and white photography, and which meant typography gave you a flavour of the time and place as well. There was is
this specially drawn by someone? Looks like it.
It was. It wasn't. No, it was based on a typeface. We did actually create the way that it's composed and set in that arced style, but the letter forms themselves have come from a typeface, so it's been adapted.
Right. What? Do you remember the face?
No. I can find these things out.
Is it a period piece or a contemporary reissue of a period piece?
It's a contemporary take on a period, but trying to be as authentic as it can be. Yeah. So we looked at a lot of record sleeves.
Yeah. Well, that's
of the era.
Like. Yeah, exactly.
And just one of those occasions where you get a brilliant performance out of an actor.
So who is she? I'm afraid I don't know who. But is she the star? Is she the person that played Ma Rainey?
That's Ma Rainey. Yes.
Okay. And I feel I have to ask after the last one.
I can't believe I can't remember her name.
It's all right. Okay.
Well, come back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it is a kind of star vehicle poster. I think it's really. I completely understand the way in which that is meant to connect with its possible audience and does.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful piece of work, actually.
And there's a story told there with the producer in the background. I mean, it is about how black artists were exploited in the early days of recorded music. So you don't get the whole story, but you get the suggestion of that dynamic.
And is that, again, the image constructed in-house somewhere in the studio and shot here? Or where?
The set was built by the photographer and shot by the photographer Seamus Ryan.
Here or somewhere else?
It was at his studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you there for that session? Were you?
Yeah. The designer, Ultz, was. The designer...
you mentioned
Ultz, yeah.
Ultz.
ULTZ.
Okay.
The designer on this, Michael Cranston, myself, hair and makeup team from here, from the NT, costume supervisors from the NT, and was there anyone from props? No, I don't think so. And then all the photographers team as well.
Yeah.
So there was quite a crowd of us, probably eight people involved.
Yeah.
And we had music from the era on to help get into the spirit of the character and the story and the time and the place.
Yeah.
Which all worked really well.
Is the feeling that this poster worked well for the production? I mean, do you have any sense of audience response to this? Hard to say.
It's really hard to say. Yeah. I was quite happy with how close it was to the world of the play. Yeah. I think I think because we start working on these so far in advance, and often designers aren't really ready to share any influence, share any inspiration or reference. Sometimes it can change at quite a late stage, the design as well, and you're not quite meeting that. But in this case, I think we were well informed and really delivered an image that was very close to how it looked on stage.
Yep. Okay, so do you want to talk about any of these, or go to some of the ones you've got there? What would you, given that half an hour now, so let's make some hard choices for this session.
Rules for Living is an interesting one because it's an illustrated style, which we